Morning, everyone. My name is Wes Schrickel, and I'm the senior pastor at the Orchard in Starkville. I'm so glad that you're taking a few minutes out of your day to join me this morning in this devotional. Today, I want to read to you Psalm 77 and show the spiritual discipline that this psalm reminds us to do in times of distress. It says Psalm 77, starting in verse 1. I cried out to God for help. I cried out to God to hear me. When I was in distress, I sought the Lord. At night, I stretched out untiring hands, and I would not be comforted. I remembered you, God, and I groaned. I meditated, and my spirit grew faint. You kept my eyes from closing. I was too troubled to speak. I thought about the former days, the years of long ago. I remembered my songs in the night. My heart meditated, and my spirit asked, will the Lord reject forever? Will he never show his favor again? Has his unfailing love vanished forever? Has his promise failed for all time? Has God forgotten to be merciful? Has he in his anger withheld his compassion? Then I thought, to this I will appeal. The years when the Most High stretched out his right hand. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago. I will consider all your works and meditate on all your mighty deeds. Your ways, God, are holy. What God is as great as our God? You are the God who performs miracles. You display your power among the peoples. With your mighty arm you redeem your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. The water saw you, God. The water saw you and writhed. The very depths were convulsed. The clouds poured down water. The heavens resounded with thunder. Your arrows flashed back and forth. Your thunder was heard in the whirlwind. Your lightning lit up the world. The earth trembled and quaked. Your path led through the sea, your way through the mighty waters, though your footprints were not seen. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. There's two really distinct differences in thought that happens in this psalm. The first 9 verses shows the author really distressed and wondering where God is and wondering if God has forsaken him. And the other rest of the passage is this person remembering God's faithfulness throughout history and believing and trusting that God will do that again. And it just shows me, in one, how misleading our feelings can be. It says in verse 6, my heart meditated and my spirit asked, will the Lord reject forever? Has his unfailing love vanished forever? But then in verse 10 it says, then I thought. And so it shows within one person two different emotions, two different thoughts that arise from that emotion. I think it shows that we can really easily lose faith as believers. This is someone from ancient times. Losing faith is something that we all do. But then he remembers, and the way he remembers is he recalls past acts that God has done. And so this is a spiritual discipline that I think we should cultivate. All throughout the Old Testament, there are celebrations, there are festivals, there are feasts that are remembering the times that God had acted in Israel's history. And so you have the Day of Atonement, you have Passover, you have the Feast of Tabernacles, you have all these different things to remind Israel of their history, to remind them that they were once slaves, but God set them free, because in the present, we can often forget what God has done for us. We can look around and our minds, our souls, our circumstances they can confuse us, they can deceive us. Our hearts can very easily deceive us into forgetting that God is here. And so there are definitely times when it seems like God is distant. You see it all throughout the Psalms when people are calling on God and they're saying, God, where are you? I don't hear you. Or have you forsaken me? Please don't forsake me. Please don't take your spirit from me. But I think throughout Scripture, we see that any belief in God being distant is really an illusion. It's an illusion that is created by our sin. It's an illusion that's created by our weakness. God is never distant. It is us who grows distant from God. It's us who, through our actions, through sin in our life, through our disobedient heart, we walk away from God, and we walk away from his presence. And it seems like he's really far away, when in reality he's really here, wanting to hold us, wanting to grip us. And it's during these times when we remember that God is here, and we know his heart. That the things that he's done really appeals to his nature. We know of his heart, we know of his ways, we know that he is not going to forsake us, because he never has in the past. So in this psalm, he is talking specifically about how God was faithful to the descendants of Jacob and Joseph and how God freed Israel from their slavery in Egypt through parting the sea. So this was a completely unprecedented act and miracle. This was something that was impossible, that the greatest military force of all time, Egypt, was on the heels of the people of Israel, and God separated the sea so that they could walk through it. And so for us, I think each and every one of us have these kind of sea parting kind of times in our life. It might not be that dramatic, but we've had times where God has met us then again and again and again. It hasn't always happened on our time, and it hasn't always happened the way we want it to happen, and it always happened when we want it to happen. But let's remember what it says in verse 13. Your ways, God, are holy. What God is as great as our God. And so God's ways are holy. God's action is holy. His timing is holy. And so what we have to do is remember his works, remember what he's done in our past, remember that he's going to do it again. We just don't always know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, but we know the way that God acts and when he acts will be perfect timing, and that it will be the salvation that we need to see in our life at this point. And even during this time, this unprecedented time, this time, everything has been kind of up in the air and it's very different. We believe that God is acting and moving. Even when we don't see it, even if everything, all of the worldly signs point one way, we don't look to things that are seen, but we look to things that are unseen, because what is temporal will all fade away, but what is eternal will last forever. And so we look to the God who's eternal, and we ask the God who's eternal to do eternal things in our life. So remember, if you have to sit down with a journal, if you have to just think back on times, just if you need to call a friend and have them help you to remember the times when God has acted. Remember, because we're human, we're frail, we tend to be unfaithful, but God is never unfaithful. Just a few things before we go that I wanted to remind you about is that we have a daily Bible reading plan that you can text read plan to 662-269-0328. And you can get set up, and it'll text you every day and give you part of our reading plan. And then you can find our Spotify worship playlist for some really great and encouraging music. You can there's going to be a link in the caption below. You can click on that, and that's going to take you right to our Spotify playlist. Hope you guys have a great day. We will see you soon.